Right, so this is a video about squares, but we've got a guest right here. My dog doesn't want to leave the bench, so yeah, we've got a little helper today. Right, this is a Glyder 82. This is from TrigJig Tools here in the UK. It's a combination square. And, you know, I've got this old beautiful Starrett, and you may be wondering why on earth would you get anything else if you've already got a Starrett. And for me, it's about rules. So the Starrett has an imperial rule, beautifully machined, but most of my work is in metric. So I need a metric only rule. I didn't want a combination one because then it's never on the correct side. And the options are just non-existent. The Starrett don't sell the metric version anymore. You can get one from More and Right, but the machining on that wasn't great. The ends of the rule were in square, so depending on like where you're referencing, you could be like a bit out. There is a version from Xminster Tools, and for whatever reason they sell like a very long 60 centimeter rule, but not a 30 centimeter one. And also the one they sent me, like the first one they sent me, wasn't sitting flat on the bench or like any flat surface. This end was just lifting maybe by 2 mil. So if you wanted to get it like a referencing, like a marking tool in there, it would just kind of dive underneath. This is a replacement they've sent me, and it's much better. It's a lot more flat, but the problem is that this slot for the hook, that wasn't machined very well, and it just doesn't slide in the square. So you can get it like up to here, and then it just won't slide. So it's a nice rule, it's just useless as a combination square rule. So if you want a metric only square, I think this is your only option at the moment, in the UK at least. This is great because it's compatible with a lot of rules. So this is a mid-tutorial rule, but you can just drop in pretty much any rule. It's compatible with rules in like 19 to 30 mil in thickness, in width, I think. And thickness, these are 1.2 mil, and you can go like close to 3 mil, I think, on the thickness of the rule. And regarding parallax issues, this is like when you have a gap between the rule and the body of the square. That's just non-existent with this square. You can adjust it if you've got a thicker or a thinner rule. There is this bolt that you can advance, and it will just get the rule right up to the body of the square. You can see what I mean. This is a cheaper square. This is an eye gauging one, and you can see there is a gap here, and on the other side there is a bit more of a gap, so it can create a bit of an issue when you're trying to get just right on that line. So not the case with this. Another good point, it references the edge very securely. So like if you're trying to, you know, transfer a mark, it sits there, it registers very well. It's slightly shorter than the Starrett. I would say this is probably about 2/3 of the length of the Starrett face. For me, this is perfectly good enough. It's a bit shorter on the 45 side, so I would say on the 45 side, it's about half of the Starrett. They do sell a bigger version, and if you're referencing 45 degrees all day long, it will register a bit more securely. So on the 45 side, you can kind of wobble it a little bit. It's a bit shorter, but if you're careful, you can get a perfectly accurate 45 degree line. For me, for the work that I do, I don't do 45 degrees that often, and it's perfectly adequate. Another benefit for me is that I can drop in a much smaller rule in here. So for fine work, for like small joinery, you just advance this bolt a little bit, and now you've got this rule in here, and it's very securely locked off. And that means that I don't have to faff around with like a big combo square, a small combo square, a double square. I'm just gonna have one that I trust, and if I need a smaller rule, a bigger rule, I can just drop that in there. It's very quick, so if you need to drop in a bigger rule, you just back this off a little bit, drop in an old one. If I need to do something in imperial, you just drop in an imperial rule, and that's it, you're done. Okay, what else? The access to wear pads is very easy. You can just take this apart, and then this part comes off. If you need to calibrate it, again, you just take that off and you can file it very easily. With a Starrett or most combination squares with this design, you have to get like a needle file, and there are some pads in there. You probably can't see them right now, but it is a bit more difficult to adjust it if you need to. I would just like to say, on arrival, it was bang on square. I didn't have to do anything to it. Just, you know, if it ever wears out, it shouldn't happen in your lifetime probably. Right. Last point that is good or better than the Starrett is the bubble level. It's much more visible. On the Starrett, it's like this tiny thing right here. Not a problem for me. I almost never use it, but if you care about that sort of thing, then, you know, it's a small difference. Now I'm gonna go over some of the nitpicks I have with this model, and it's just like regarding the design really. They did mention this in their like design video and like the things they've gone through to get at this design, and it's about the rule being in the body of the square instead of like sticking out right here. So that means you don't have easy access to this section of the rule. Where that can be a problem is if you want to use it as a straight edge, for example. So if you want to check if your piece is like perfectly flat, then with the Starrett you can just do that. With this you need to take the rule out and then drop it on here, because you like just the body of the square wouldn't let you do it. Another area where that could be a bit of an issue is when you're transferring lines. So say I'm going to strike a line here. If I want to transfer it, I just find it with the edge of the rule and I just transfer it over. With the glider, it's slightly different. If I strike this line here, if I wanted to, okay, I did it the easy way around, so I don't have to do anything. Okay, so that worked perfectly. If you wanted to do it the other way around, so you strike a line and then you want to reference it like that, you can't do it because you're covering this line by the body of the square. So you see what I mean? Like if I want to transfer this line, I'm hiding it by the body of the square. So I already got used to it, which is why I did it the correct way the first time around. But you have to flip it around, then find the line with your rule, and then transfer. So yeah, you can do it, no problem. Just pointing out the differences. Okay, so this is probably not the right tool for this, but if you did want to line up a track with your workpiece and you wanted to get a 90-degree crosscut, this is something you can do with the Starrett because the blade is exposed, but you can't do that with this square because, you know, there's just no blade to register against. My solution to this is a cheap tri-square from Amazon. This is a Starrett, cost me 10 quid, and it will probably do a better job anyway because it's got a bigger reference and a bit more length over there. If you're worried about getting a cheap tri-square, I get it, but just get it from a place where you can exchange it, and if it arrives out of square, you can just exchange it until you get one that is square. I know it's a bit of a faff, but they're like 10 quid. So what you can do when you get one, just strike a line here, flip it around. Strike another line, and this one is just perfectly bang on. So one is exactly on the other. If they were diverging, so, you know, if they went like that, so this is one, and if I'm just gonna knock it out of square a little bit, if they did that, then you know that your square isn't exactly 90 degrees, but mine was, and this solution works perfectly well for me. Another tiny bit of difference is that with the Starrett, the maximum extension is so that you're in full contact with the registration pads. The full extension you get on the Starrett is I don't know, almost 10 inch, like 9 3/4. With the TrigJig, you get a bit more. So with this, if you want to be in full contact with the registration pads, you get 10, maybe 10 1/4, 10 1/2 almost. So again, incredibly small difference, but if you do find it useful, there it is. Another point of difference between these two is the accessories. So with the Starrett, I've got a full set. So there is this protractor head. So what that does is you can drop in a rule, and then you can set the angle that you need, lock it off with these 2 thumb screws, and let's say I'm doing some chair legs. I can just, let's say that's my first leg, goes here at this angle. Now the problem for me with this particular protractor head is that it's one-sided, it's not reversible. So if I need to do the other side, I can't just flip it around and go in like this. I would have to undo these bolts, do the same angle on the other side, lock it off, and then I can do this side, you know. So it's a bit of a faff, and it's hard to get exactly the same angle. Like, these are very fine lines, but you know, you have to get in really close to get them aligned. What I think is a much better tool for this is a sliding bevel. So I think most woodworkers have one of these. So what you can do is get it on a flat surface, zero out the level box, and then just get that blade to where you need to be. So that's the degree I want. You can take that off, lock it in place, double check if you're paranoid, lock it really securely, and now, you know, this isn't going anywhere. And what you can do now is make your mark here, flip it around, and you're done, because it's got 2 reference faces, edges, I don't know. There is this center finder for the Starrett where you can just put it in the corner, flip it around, and then go in from the other side. And that's the center of this piece of wood. I never do this. I only did this once when I got the square to just try it. What I do in the real world is I just get it to like where I think the middle will be roughly. So just advance that a little bit and lock it off. Strike a line, flip it around. Okay, so I'm pretty close, and if I was sewing this, I would probably leave it like that, and I would just reference from this side, reference from this side, and then I know exactly where my saw curve goes. But if I want to get like right on the line, I advance it a little bit more. Okay, a little bit more. And that's my middle. If you think that this is a lot of faff, it's a lot less faff than like going fishing for where that center finder head is, taking it off, you know, taking the square head off and putting this one on. Yeah, I think realistically you're never gonna do that. If you need to work with round stock like dowels or metal bars or something like that, yeah, I see the use of it, but you can also get just a dedicated tool for it for 15 quid. So not a problem for me. To summarize, I'm going to be selling my Starrett and I'm just going to be keeping this one. The issues that I mentioned are just to give you a full picture, but for me there are no problems at all. For me, the ability to just swap out the rules and to use a bigger one when I need to, and the smaller one for sort of fine joinery and transferring small measurements, that's a huge benefit. If you're looking for a cheaper alternative, I would say go with something from iGaging. They make combination squares as well, and they're very reasonably priced. They're going to be bang on accurate. Like, if my experience is anything to go by, other people have good experiences with them as well. They're not, you know, as precisely made, so, you know, the adjustment isn't quite as smooth, and, you know, it's not perfectly tight in there, but, you know, for the money, I think it's a very good tool. There is also a line from Faithful, I think they call it Prestige, and you can get a Faithful Prestige combination square. I think it's made out of aluminum, and they sell it, I think, on Amazon. So again, you can just exchange it if you want to. If it, you know, if it didn't arrive square for whatever reason, I'd say you go that route. But if you want something really nice, if the ability to swap out the rolls is a big factor for you, the same way as it is for me, and if you want to support a British company, I would say absolutely, it's a great tool. Come here, I'll show you something. Okay, so I've got... No, this is a video about squares. I would say go for it if you wanna. That's a shitty summary. Go for it if you wanna. Yeah? That is a